Okay, how about, have you build a motor and it's fresh and you're going to the race and you know you need to break a motor in and you don't really have time to do it, so this is a story that somebody out of the 5 knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I put a motor in my 65 car and we just loaded on the truck and took off to go to Union Hill in Nashville. And we wanted to run the engine some before we got there. Mr. Hoover gave us this break-in cycle to put in, so we just unloaded on Interstate 40 and I started driving it behind the truck going up Interstate 40. And this trooper, he did not see any amusement in that at all. He wrote me a ticket about that long. And I knew I was in big trouble. So I got back to Memphis the next week and I called John Moore. He's the gentleman who got me hooked up with Chrysler. He was assistant regional manager at the Chrysler zone office. He knew everybody. And I said, John, I got a problem. He said, what? And I told him about the ticket. He said, bring it over here. And so he looked at it and he made a phone call out to the sheriff or highway patrol or somebody. And he said, take it out there and give it to Captain somebody. I don't remember who it was. And so I took it out there and went in to give it to him. And the guy that wrote it just happened to be in the office that day. And I handed him the ticket and walked out the door very quietly. I didn't say a word and didn't look at the man. And the ticket disappeared. But yeah, he didn't see any amusement in me driving that 65 Hemi car down Interstate 40. I wasn't speeding or anything, but I didn't have any tags, any license, any headlights, any tail lights. He just kept writing.
So for another story, we know you fly to the race, we know you drive the truck to the race, and we know you. Has anybody there ever hitchhiked to a race before, or maybe to pick up a truck? And if they can, just tell the story.
I don't know of anyone.
I'm sitting beside the guy that did that.
Buddy just told a lie. Tell the story, buddy.
Well, that was in 1969 when we were coming from Phoenix, headed back to Los Angeles for the Winter Nationals, and Joe Pope, guy that we'd hired to drive the truck, was started driving when we left Phoenix, and I was going to ride with him. And of course, I got in the back seat, was going to lie down, and I asked, I said, Joe, are you okay? You sleepy? And, oh, no, I'm fine. Next thing I knew, I heard rocks flying and dust flying, and we were headed for one of those big ditches there in California. And of course, I just fell back down in the seat because I didn't know where we'd wind up. But anyway, we wound up in the ditch. It threw the car that was on the trailer off and did some damage, a little bit of damage to the car that was on the truck. And of course, the truck bent the rear end, knocked the rear end around and stuff, and we had to leave it there to get that fixed. And so when they called me and told me that the truck was fixed, it was ready to pick up, I was going to ride the bus from Ontario back to pick the truck up, and it was like 150 miles, something like that. And got on the bus and we started out and we didn't get very far, and it made us stop. And the next thing I know, one of the kids got his hand caught in the door of the bus and screaming and yelling, and I was the only one on that bus that could speak English. And that the noise just got louder, and we got more kids and more stuff. And the next stop that we made, the bus went on, and I stayed there. and I started hitchhiking. And I hitchhiked from there to where the truck was to pick it up to come back. And of course, I would have walked if I'd have had to. But that was my last ride. And of course, when I got back, I took Joe to the bus station, and he rode the bus from California back to North Carolina. I've never seen Joe since then.